To the world, my husband was perfect. But one night, I stumbled onto a secret that shattered everything I thought I knew about him, and the truth was nothing like I imagined. They say every marriage has secrets. Some are small, like a hidden birthday surprise. Some are dangerous. For 11 years, I believed Daniel was the man of my dreams. Loyal, hardworking, a good father. In our quiet Dallas suburb, we were the couple people pointed to and whispered, "They have it all." My friends envied me. Our neighbors admired us. Online, our lives looked picture perfect. Sun-soaked family photos, matching Christmas sweaters, Sunday brunch selfies. But what no one saw were the late nights. The strange phone calls. The way Daniel started guarding his phone like it held a bomb. I thought I knew my husband. But one night, I learned I didn't know him at all. And the way I discovered his secret? It still haunts me. It was late, after midnight. The kids were asleep. Daniel had gone back to the office. I was folding laundry in our bedroom when his other phone, a phone I didn't even know existed, buzzed on the floor of his closet. The name on the screen wasn't a woman's. It wasn't even a name. It was a code. And when I opened the message, my blood ran cold. Stay with me, because this story doesn't go where you think. When Daniel and I met in college, he was charming, funny, ambitious. The kind of guy who opened doors and remembered your coffee order. He'd talk about building a future, a house, kids, a dog. I fell for him hard. 5 years later, we bought a modest brick house in a leafy suburb north of Dallas. White picket fence. 2 kids. Weekends full of soccer games, little league, and backyard cookouts with friends. Our lives moved to the rhythm of school runs, PTO meetings, and Sunday church. On social media, we looked perfect. Family selfies at the lake. Daniel grilling burgers with the kids on 4th of July. Me posting, #blessed under our anniversary dinner photo. Everyone said, "You two are the dream couple." And I believed it. Looking back now, maybe I was blinded by love. Because slowly little things began to change. At first, it seemed harmless. He said work was busier. He stayed late at the office. He traveled more for clients. I trusted him. I didn't ask questions. But then the cracks started to show. He stopped laughing at our inside jokes. He skipped family dinners. His eyes were somewhere else, even when he was home. I brushed it off as stress. Everyone's busy. Everyone's tired. But what I saw next made me question everything. It started with small inconsistencies, receipts from restaurants we'd never been to, charges from hotels downtown. Perfume on his jacket that wasn't mine. I told myself, it's nothing. Don't be paranoid. But deep down, a knot started forming in my stomach. And as I'd soon find out, that knot was just the beginning of my world unraveling. If you love powerful stories like this, about hidden truths and unexpected twists, subscribe this channel and never miss the next chapter. Your support helps us keep telling stories that matter. It started with Daniel's phone. He never let it out of his sight. At dinner, it stayed face down. If I so much as brushed it while setting the table, he'd snap. "Don't touch that, Jess." That wasn't like him. Then the receipts appeared, fancy restaurants we'd never visited. Charges from hotels across town. I told myself maybe he was meeting clients. Maybe a work dinner. Maybe a conference. But a seed of doubt had been planted. And then came the smell. One night, as I took his jacket from the car, a strong perfume drifted up. Not mine. Not any scent I owned. I felt my stomach drop. Was my husband cheating? I wanted to confront him, but fear stopped me. What if I was wrong? What if I was right? So I started watching. One Tuesday night, Daniel left for work. I waited 30 minutes, then got in my car. I followed him across town. He didn't go to his office. He pulled into a quiet neighborhood, parked in front of a small, single-story house. The porch light was off. He went inside, stayed there for hours. I sat in my car, gripping the steering wheel, my heart racing. I wanted to storm in. I wanted to scream. But instead, I drove home in tears. That night, I promised myself I would find out the truth. Over the next week, more strange things appeared. A second cell phone hidden in his gym bag. Mysterious texts at 3 a.m. that he quickly deleted. Credit card charges for gifts I never received. Work trips that didn't show up on his calendar at all. Each sign pointed to betrayal. And yet, something didn't add up. Daniel was tired.
Pale.
His weight was dropping. At night I'd hear him in the bathroom, coughing, sometimes retching. When I asked, he brushed it off. Just a stomach bug. One evening, he came home trembling, sweat beading on his forehead. I begged him to see a doctor. He snapped, "I'm fine, Jessica. Drop it." That's when I knew something was terribly wrong. But wrong how? Another woman? Drugs? Money trouble? I was about to discover a clue that would change everything. I went through the pockets of his jacket. That's where I found it. A business card from a clinic I'd never heard of. Not a woman's name, a medical center. I searched it online. It wasn't a hospital. It was a research facility, a place that ran clinical drug trials. Why would Daniel go there? Why keep it a secret? I tried to ignore it. Told myself it was none of my business. But the image of that dark little house and the nurse white business card kept me up at night. So the next time he said he was working late, I followed him again. This time, I parked closer. Watched him walk into the same clinic from the business card. And what I discovered next was nothing I could have prepared for. For almost an hour, I sat in the dark, my heart pounding. Through the glass doors, I saw him check in, not with a receptionist, but with a nurse. They spoke in low voices. She handed him a clipboard. He rolled up his sleeve. She prepared in 4. My breath caught in my throat. This wasn't a romantic rendezvous. It looked like a medical procedure. Relief and confusion tangled in my chest.
Was he sick?
Was he lying? Why wouldn't he tell me? I wanted to burst through the door, demand answers. But instead, I drove home again, tears streaming down my face. My hands shook on the wheel. I had my answer about where he was going, but not about why. Over the next week, Daniel grew weaker. His late nights at the office grew longer. Our kids started asking where Daddy was. I had no answers. I started documenting everything, screenshots of texts, photos of receipts, notes of dates and times. It wasn't just suspicion anymore. It was an investigation. And yet, with each clue I collected, one truth became clearer. Daniel was hiding something far bigger than an affair. And the real reason would blindside me in a way I never expected. I became a detective in my own marriage. I wasn't just a wife anymore. I was an investigator with a spiral notebook, a camera phone, and a heart that couldn't stop pounding. Each night, after putting the kids to bed, I'd sit at the kitchen table under the dim light, spreading out receipts like evidence in a crime drama. Hotel bills, restaurant tabs, gas station stops that didn't make sense. That little white business card from the clinic sat in the center, like a puzzle piece I couldn't place. I called my best friend, Tara, who lives a few streets over. She's the kind of Texas neighbor who always has a casserole and an opinion. "Jess," she whispered over the phone, "this doesn't sound like an affair. This sounds medical." Her words echoed in my head. Medical, not an affair. But if Daniel was sick, why hide it? Why risk me finding out this way? I needed answers. And I was willing to go further to get them. The next time Daniel left for his so-called meeting, I arranged for Tara to watch the kids. I pulled on a baseball cap and a hoodie and followed him again. This time, I parked across the street from the clinic, in a dark corner under an oak tree. Through the tinted windows, I could see silhouettes moving. Daniel at a counter. A nurse guiding him down a hallway. My heart beat so hard it made my hands tremble. I slipped out of my car and walked closer, staying in the shadows. The door was locked, but through the glass I could see a waiting room with pamphlets on experimental therapies, clinical trials for aggressive illnesses, and a sign-in sheet with Daniel scrawled in shaky handwriting. My throat tightened. This wasn't a lover's den. This was a place where people fought for their lives. But what I found next shocked me even more. I snapped a photo of the sign-in sheet with my phone and slipped back to my car before anyone could see me. Back home, after midnight, I scrolled through the clinic's website. There it was in bold letters. Advanced Oncology Research. pioneering treatments for stage 3 and stage 4 cancers. The room spun. My mind raced. Daniel had never mentioned cancer. Never mentioned being sick beyond a stomach bug. Could it be? Could he be dying? I wanted to shake him awake right then and demand the truth. But some small voice inside me said, "Wait, let him tell you." So I waited. And in the waiting, the pieces began to fall into place. Over the next week, I watched him with new eyes. His pale skin, his thinning frame, the way he winced when he thought no one was looking, the empty bottles of anti-nausea pills in the bathroom cabinet. It was all there, like a mystery I'd been too blind to solve. One night, while he was in the shower, I peeked at his other phone, the one he hid in his closet. It wasn't filled with flirty texts. It was filled with appointment reminders, blood test results, and messages from a research nurse named Carla. "Hang in there, Daniel. See you Thursday at 6 p.m. Tears blurred my vision. My husband wasn't sneaking off to another woman. He was sneaking off to fight for his life.
But why didn't he tell me?
Why shut me out? I lay awake that night, listening to his breathing beside me, wondering how I could love someone so much and feel so completely shut out. By now, the evidence was undeniable. The only thing left was to confront him. But even that thought scared me. What if the truth was even worse than I imagined? What if he didn't survive? I rehearsed my words in the mirror, over and over. "Daniel, I know." But the moment never came. He always left before dawn, always came home after dark, always avoided my eyes. Finally, a Friday night arrived when the kids were at a sleepover. No excuses. No distractions. I waited in the living room with the business card in one hand and his hidden phone in the other. This would be the night everything came out. I just didn't know how much it would hurt. The house was quiet except for the clock ticking on the mantel. The kids were at Tara's. My palms were sweaty as I sat on the edge of the couch, Daniel's hidden phone, and the clinic's card resting on my lap like two grenades. When he walked in the door, I didn't even let him take off his coat. "Daniel," I said, "sit down. We need to talk." He looked at me, confused, then wary. "What's wrong?" I held up the business card. "What is this? And don't tell me it's work." His face drained of color. For a second I saw something flicker across his eyes. Not anger, but fear. He sat down slowly, like a man about to face a firing squad. "Jessica," he exhaled, long and shaky. "There's no other woman." "I've followed you," I said, my voice cracking. "I've seen the clinic, the late nights, the secret phone. Just tell me the truth." He rubbed his hands over his face. "I was trying to protect you." "Protect me?" My heart pounded. Protect me from what? That's when the truth came pouring out. He told me everything. About the diagnosis he got over a year ago. Stage 3 cancer. Aggressive. The doctors had given him a slim chance without experimental treatment. The clinic was his only hope. The phone was for his research nurse. The hotel charges were for overnight stays after harsh rounds of therapy. "I didn't want you to look at me like I was dying," he said, tears streaming down his face. "I wanted life to feel normal. I wanted to be your strong husband for as long as I could." I sat there, stunned. All the anger, the suspicions, the sleepless nights, they collapsed into a crushing ache. He hadn't been betraying me with another woman. He'd been betraying me with silence. I reached for his hand. "Daniel, I could have helped you. You didn't have to do this alone." "I know," he whispered, "but I was scared." We sat there on the couch, holding each other, crying until we had no tears left. And yet, even with the truth out, the hardest part was still ahead. The weeks that followed were a blur of hospital visits, treatment schedules, and endless paperwork. Our kitchen table turned into a command center. Pill bottles, insurance forms, stacks of medical records. Our children asked questions we barely knew how to answer. I stood by Daniel's side through every round of chemo, every sleepless night. But trust? Trust was harder to rebuild than either of us expected. Because betrayal doesn't always come from infidelity. Sometimes it comes from shutting out the person who's supposed to stand beside you. Slowly, as months passed, Daniel's condition stabilized. The treatments worked better than anyone hoped. We started taking short walks again, going to soccer games, sitting at the dinner table together. Life didn't look perfect anymore, but it was real. I learned something I'll never forget. Secrets, no matter how noble, can destroy the people you're trying to protect. And on quiet nights, when the kids are asleep and the house is still, I think back to the woman I was before that night. The woman who thought she had it all figured out. The woman who thought betrayal only meant one thing. The truth is, even the deepest secrets have a way of coming to light. And when they do, nothing is ever the same again. If you've been pulled into this story and you want to hear more real, gripping stories like mine, subscribe to this channel and turn on the bell. Every week we share true life stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat and sometimes touch your heart in ways you didn't expect.